On my extreme left, if you don't mind, let me just have a seat. On my extreme left is Mr. Otieno Adipo. Otieno Adipo is a young man who is progressing very well in his career. He's currently the head of licensing at a company called KAMP, Camp and Prisk. I'll just give him a mic for a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, just to tell us a bit about himself. Right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Otieno Adipo. As you've been told, I'm the head of licensing at Kenya Association of Music Producers, CAMP, and Performers' Rights Society of Kenya, Prisk. I think I have about 7 years in copyright management, copyright and related rights management industry. I just happened to get into this industry by accident, and now I am here by design. My background is philosophy. It has nothing to do with copyright, but I've come to learn a lot of things, which we will be sharing with you in a short while. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Adipo. Next to Adipo is Mr. Paul Kiarie Kaindo, who is a lawyer by profession, and Paul works with the Kenya Copyright Board. Paul, karibu.
Thank you, Okoth. Now, my name is Kaindo. I actually like using Kaindo. I'm a legal counsel at the Kenya Copyright Board. Don't have not as much experience as my colleague has, but I've been a lawyer for like 3 years in the field of copyright. And it is a choice that I chose to actually be in intellectual property because, like somebody has said, it is a wide and wild area, very interesting area to study. So you are going to have a very interactive session in that area. Thank you.
All right, asante Paul. On my immediate right is a good friend of mine. I've known him for a couple of years, Mr. Mike Strano. Mike is the founding director of PHAT, and these are basically the organizers of this event. Mike, salimia wa Kenya kwa Kiswahili.
Yeah, sure. Ndio. Good afternoon. I've been a lawyer for 0 years. I'm the only one who's not a lawyer on this panel, but I represent private industry. We have, as PHAT Music and Entertainment, we have a number of businesses. One of them is called PHAT Intellectual Property, where we represent the various rights of artists and creatives in the industry. And under copyright specifically, we're music publishers, which we represent a South African company called ONGEA Music Publishing in the whole Eastern Africa region. And then as PHAT IP, we represent other rights that are associated with CAMP and Prisk for our clients. Some of our clients include Sauti Sol, PHAT the Band, Eric Musyoka, Tim Rembui. From Uganda, we have clients like Radio and Weasel, Cindy Sanyu, Jackie Chandiru, Maurice Kiria. From Tanzania, we represent Ali Kiba, Lady JD. And then internationally, we represent composers like Kirk Franklin, Bob Marley. Yes, he still has rights. He's still getting royalties and the like. So that's what publishing does. We represent the intellectual property of the composers while they're alive and then also later on for their estate.
All right. Wahenga walisema beauty and brains don't usually go together, lakini walidanganya. And immediately next to Mike is Angela Ndambuki. Wanaume. You remember? Oi. Yes, even me had a crush on her, even you. Oh, yes. Next to Mike there is Madam Angela Ndambuki. Angela is a lawyer by profession and currently the CEO of the Performers' Rights Society of Kenya. Angela, tuimbie tafadhali.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy, actually, excited to be here today. As you heard, I am Angela Ndambuki. I used to sing, actually. I am here, I think, representing both the creative, both creative role capacity and an analytical role capacity because I'm a musician first. I used to sing. Okay, no, actually, I still do sing. Ni vile tu unajua maisha inaenda papa. Lakini I'm still interested in singing. We used to sing with a group called Tattoo. And I think Shinde is somewhere around. And but right now I'm a lawyer by profession and an intellectual property lawyer at that. As the CEO of Performers' Rights Society of Kenya, we are one of the collective management organizations who collect royalties on behalf of both musicians and actors. So I'll be speaking a bit about now the music side of what we do later on today. So, asante.
Asante, Angela. Next to Angela is a man who does not walk alone. a firm supporter of Liverpool Football Club, and I'm not a good friend of mine because of that. His name is Mr. Robin Busolo, actually a colleague. We've practiced law for quite some time. Robin, salimia wanaume na wanawake.
Good afternoon. Habari ya wasanii. Yeah, it's a pleasure for me to be here this afternoon. As the moderator said, I'm called Robin Busolo. My background is law. Been in private practice, worked with the artists at Kenya National Theatre, promoting your knowledge or awareness in terms of copyright. And in another life, I wear a different hat. I work in a corporate organization, which is the Communications Authority of Kenya. And you all know, maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't know, is a regulatory body which regulates various industries in Kenya, telecommunications. They license the Safarikoms and the Airtels of this world. They license the TV stations of this world. They control information security on the internet, cyber security, etc. What is relevant in this discussion here is how we regulate broadcasters. So we license the TV stations, we license the radio stations, and we ensure that they adhere to their licensing terms and conditions. So for you artists, we ensure that our role is to ensure that in terms of local content, your creative art, which is protected as intellectual property, is duly promoted. So we as a regulator, we do facilitate your interests. We promote your interests in terms of ensuring that your content, that is your intellectual property, is aired and you gain out of it. We'll discuss more of it in the course of the discussion.
Thanks a lot. So, guys, what we want to do is to make this as interactive as possible. We would also not assume we know what it is that you want to hear. So we'll give an opportunity for you to guide us and tell us what kind of questions or what kind of presentation you want to get from the panel that is here. We've, however, taken the liberty to narrow down to about 5 or 6 issues which are of national interest and which must be addressed by the panelists here. And just before I get there, nimeona Homundo Mundo ameingia. Mundo is a good friend of mine also. We work together. His name is Mr. Maurice, the CEO of the Music Opera Society of Kenya. Mr. Simiyu, what we're doing is just for 1 minute or two, just salimia watu. Natume salamu katika hiyo nini harakati.
Afternoon. Okay, I think it's going to be a good interaction. I want to thank the organizers of this event. And I will be given an opportunity to say something. My name is Mr. Maurice. I'm the CEO of Music Opera Society of Kenya. Thank you.
All right. There are about 5 areas which are deemed of national interest. And as I do this, guys, just prepare in your minds and help to guide us so that when we make the session interactive, we're able to make presentations on what you want to know so that you can come out of here at least you've gained something. One of the areas that we'll start with maybe from the CAK side are questions, for example, on how it is that the Communications Authority of Kenya is able to make broadcasters comply with the law. And I think that would be, in fact, let me ask this first. What kind of guys do we have here? How many musicians here? Quite a number. So that would be very relevant for most of you. And just to hear, what does CAK do? What procedures are followed to ensure compliance by broadcasting stations? And it's a very key issue because I'm sure most of you thought it's only the CMOs that are responsible for that. Let's hear from the CAK on that. There's also the very touchy topic on the quota system. You know about the quota system for the local broadcasts? Yes, they'll speak to us about that and tell us what steps have been done with regard to that and what the effect will be when we have the quota system fully implemented. What will the effect be to you in terms of your earnings? Nisawa. Anything else that you might want to ask after that? Now you just guide us and tell us what kind of things you'd like to hear from the CAK. From the CMOs, Angela, Adipo, and Mr. Simiyu, there are issues, and not just the CMOs, even the Kenya Corporate Board. There are issues about the regulation of the CMOs. Most of you have always raised issues on how is it that we can have them properly regulated. What are the concerns that you have? What is it that you'd want the Kenya Corporate Board to do in terms of regulating the CMOs? And by regulation here we're saying this is your product, this is your intellectual property. How is it that you'd like it to be managed? What conditions do you want to be put in place in terms of managing it? And I think it's a very important thing that the Kenya Corporate Board are doing by coming out to you and asking, what do you want us to do? How do you want us to do it? We'll hear what it is that they're already doing. And if you have any suggestions, I think you'll be free to do that today. And Angela will tell you, Kerry will tell you about the schedule of the seminars. You have the schedule of the seminars that are planned in that regard, so you can take it up again on that level. Another thing with the CMOs and Kikobo is on the tariffs. And essentially what tariffs are, what price do we charge for your product? So you as IP holders, these guys here are not supposed to set prices without your authority or at least your information. So they'll share with you the new tariffs that they've presented. Some of them have been gazetted, some not, and we'll go through the processes with Kikobo of gazettement and any issues relating to that. That's on the tariffs. And then the amendments to the Corporate Act, which Kikobo will speak to you about. And again, why you should be interested in this is because this, again, is your property. There are laws being made on how to regulate or manage your property. It would be good for you to know what are these laws, how can I contribute, and when will they be out, and what have you. From PHAT are seasoned music publishers in the country and even out of this country. It would be interesting to learn. And by the outside market works through companies such as Mike Strano's company. It's one of the first in Kenya, and I think one of the ones that is actually doing or performing the role of music publishing. You might want to know how is it that you engage in the publishing business, and what rights do you have with regard to your music publisher. All right. I know there's one other thing that, I think I said that. On the same regulations, I've said that. So, I'll give one opportunity from female and male on a general area of national interest that you'd like to hear from. And then later we'll come again. Just one. Just one quick one. Okay. We start with them first and come back to you. Sawa. All right. Tuanze na CAK. So we agree we want to hear from CAK first and then just move across the panel. All right. Sorry? Do you, what I pointed out are areas of interest for you. If you have specific questions, you can ask them now. Or if you want him to just go from what I said, he can do that. Do you have specific questions on compliance issues, how they make broadcasters comply, the quota system, and anything on that level? Or do you want him just to speak generally and then you ask questions? He speaks, then you ask. So just
maybe I can provoke the discussion. Should I start with expounding what we do with regard to broadcasting, or I sit back and wait for questions? What's your preference? It's okay. Now, during the introductions, I said that the Communications Authority is a regulatory body with mandate that spans different areas: telecommunications, broadcasting, information security, postal and courier services, and things to do with competition. So what is important here is now telecommunications and broadcasting. We live now in a converged environment. We are not in those days when you could only rely on TV for broadcasting purposes. Me and you now will agree that we can also access content on our mobile phones. So we live in a converged environment where a simple gadget like an iPad or a cell phone can relay information. So that's broadcasting as well. So in this vein, we regulate telecommunication companies. So we give licenses to Safaricom's of this world. There is a new area which has come on board. They're called mobile virtual network operators. You've heard of Equitel, right? You've heard of Equitel. You know how Equitel operates? By what MVNO is that it is actually a telecommunications company, but it lacks infrastructure on the ground. And by infrastructure, I mean the masts and the base stations. So since it's a heavy industry to invest in, you come in with your intention to set up a telecommunication company, but you seek permission to ride on somebody else's infrastructure. So Equitel is run by a company. It's a collaboration between FinServ, the company is called FinServ, with Equity Bank. So what FinServ FinServ is the company which is now engaged in telecommunications. So it entered into an arrangement with Airtel. So it rides on Airtel's infrastructure, and now it's an MVNO in that sense, that it has its own network, but it relies on Airtel's infrastructure to facilitate now the Equitel, the telecommunication services now, the Equitel now in actual sense. So we do license telecommunication companies and MVNOs. When it comes to broadcasters now, which is now your main area of concern, we regulate the TV stations. And by broadcasting, I mean radio and TV. So if you wish to set up a radio station, you must come to the Communications Authority seeking a license. There are procedures which you need to conform with or comply with. Once internally they consider the requirements and they're of the view that you've actually complied with the requirements, then they give you the license. Now, broadcasting is classified into several categories. There are community broadcasters, there's private, there's commercial broadcasters, there's a public broadcaster, the BBC in Europe, in Britain, and KBC here, and we have now the subscription services providers, the pay TVs of this world, the Star Times, the multi-choice. So what we require, once you express intention of setting up a radio or TV station, then you need to classify which particular area do you wish to provide your service. So if you're a commercial broadcaster, the NTVs of this world, then you get license in that respect. Once you have this license to render or provide this broadcasting service, then there are certain requirements that are required of you as the licensee of this particular service. So in terms of content, we come with such regulations or rules. So you realize that we've developed what is called a programming code. So CA comes up with a programming code, and it details the particular programs that a licensee, in this scenario, a TV station or radio station, what they need to air. In this programming code, there's a critical period which is called the watershed period, between 5 a.m. in the morning and 10. Why is it called a watershed period? It's a watershed period because certain content which are adverse to kids. Basically, you cannot show adult content between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. That's why you've heard of KFCB Mutua protesting on certain commercials which are being aired before news. So according to Mutua of KFCB, he is of the view that it infringes or it violates the programming content as a programming code, as it were. So we came up with a programming code, and actually we rolled it out. It had issues. We had to suspend it since last year, July to December, but now it's in force. So we had there are reservations or backlash we received from the TV providers and radio providers in terms of the content. So we suspended it and gave a leeway for consultations. So right now, all TV broadcasters, all radio broadcasters are required to comply with the programming code. If you wish to access the particular content of the programming code, feel free to visit the website. It's www.ca.go.ke. So there's the programming code. Then, keenly following the programming code is what we call the complaints handling procedure. So what happens when you, the consumer of a broadcasting service, or you who is an artist, and maybe you're an independent producer, or you've come up with the content and has entered into a contract with this TV station or radio station, and you feel that something is going wrong, or some wish or some condition that is in your favor is not being met by the broadcasting house. So the first port of call, according to that complaints handling procedure, is that you raise it with the TV station or the radio station. There's a time period within which they're supposed to dispose of that particular complaint. In the event that they have not complied within that 14-day period or 30-day period to dispose of your complaint, and you're still aggrieved by that complaint that you have, then you're at liberty then to raise it now with the regulator. We've had scenarios or cases where we are regarded as the first port of call in terms of complaint resolution. That's not the correct position. So I'm urging you as artists that when you go home next time, feel free to have a look at the complaints handling procedure. We've developed it as a regulator to guide the TV stations and radio stations on how to handle complaints that emerges from whoever, maybe parents or consumers generally, or you artists. It's a guide we require those TV stations and broadcast and radio stations to have their own complaints handling procedures, because it's our view that before they come to us, we only play a regulatory role. We intervene when there's a breach of a license condition or a rule or regulation. Anything else contractual, you can handle it as a TV house, as a media house, and the artist or the consumer. So if it's not disposed of there's a person who's aggrieved by the way that complaint has been handled, then you escalate it to the authority at that level. So I urge you to look at the laws, how we regulate. If there's the law in question is Kenya Information and Communications Act, which sets up the CA, and the particular area that is relevant to your concerns is broadcasting. So there's the broadcasting provisions talking about the licensing, the content, and there's the issue of the regulations which also provide the manner in which you can go about getting the license, the content in question, and the complaints handling procedure. Another key area which is a main focus when it comes to broadcasting is the issue of content, which the moderator alluded to. We've decreed, or we've made it clear that we require TV stations or radio stations to have at least 40% of local content to be aired on TV or on radio. The question that comes to the fore is what is local content? So we've had sessions or scenarios where we've been called upon to review the law. You artists have given us submissions. Some have been of the view that talk shows, for instance, which have local people and the nature of the discussions are local discussions, that they should feature as local content. That issue was subjected to stakeholder consultations, and the ultimate consideration or conclusion was that talk shows cannot feature as local content. So the definition of local content includes programs and TV stations which has certain percentage of local content, and by local content I mean productions which are local. If it's a music, then it's local. If it's a program, then the script and the cast are all local. So to promote your interests, we require these broadcasters to air at least 40% to have at least 40% threshold. How do we monitor this? We have an equipment called a broadcast logger where we actually ensure. So we have this broadcast logger looks at all the TV stations and radio stations and ensures that they comply with this threshold. If they don't do that, we do quarterly reports where we highlight who is not in compliance and who is in compliance. If you're not in compliance and you're a TV house with the 40% threshold, we require you to pay some certain amount of money in what is called a universal service fund. So we require you to pay a certain percent, which is 0.5% of your gross annual revenue, into this fund. And this fund, what is the role of this fund? We ensure that this fund, which is regulated at the authority level, that the fund will be channeled towards promotion of local artists' interests and industry. So that's our main concern with broadcasting. We are all focused on promoting local content, and we want this to grow exponentially. So 40 is the current threshold. Next year we'll wish it to be 50. 2019 maybe 60, and ultimately we'll prefer that we have 100% of local content. Another key area in which we come in as a promoter of your interests is where we have a collaboration with Kenya Film Commission. We entered into a memorandum of understanding with them where we promote your content. So we've had several workshops in conjunction with KFC. The last one we had in January was in Machakos, and where we promote, basically we ensure that the content, the scripts that are being aired for current films or movies are local, and we ensure that the revenue that is generated out of those movies eventually that be aired, that they are channeled direct to the industry, to the music artists. I can speak here the whole day about broadcasting, so I wish to stop there, and I will at this particular juncture invite questions, concerns, observations on what you think is wrong with regard to your interests vis-a-vis broadcasting. Then I'll see how I'll intervene. Kindly.
All right. Okay, 3 hands up. Ladies first. Yes. Is that mic? Yes.
Hello, how are you? First of all, thank you for this opportunity. And I've heard you speaking about radio stations and television And yeah, as an individual, I'm a vlogger. I vlog about events, interesting things. I've been vlogging about skating events and things like that. I'd like to delve into music and musicians. So I'd like to know, is there an opportunity for me? Have you worked with vloggers before? Because, you know, things are now moving to digital. Most things are moving from TV to online, and it's actually the new thing. So I'd like to know if I have an opportunity to work with you guys. Have you worked with vloggers before? What are the requirements I'm supposed to know? And yeah.
Right. Just a minute before you answer. Just for everybody who's asking a question, you just start with your name, and then if you work for an organization, just say which it is or your vlog. Just tell us about it. Your name and the blog.
I'm Gertrude.
Gertrude?
Yeah, Gertrude Juma. And I have a vlog on YouTube, Miss Trudy.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Subscribe.
Robert?
Gertrude, for that question. Really relevant. I'll urge you to proceed with it. But to answer you, how we come in as the authority in your area, maybe in terms of information security only. How to protect your content online. But yours is purely, it's good that we're in an intellectual property forum. Yours is actually an intellectual property issue. You see, you said you're a blogger, you create content yourself and you put it online. So you need to work closely, because that's a literary work. Yeah? You need to work closely with Kenya Copyright Board. Because what is a copyright? A copyright is an expression. A copyright comes in to protect an expression of an idea. So what you have in mind and which you put it in print, right now you're not putting in a book, you're not publishing it, you're putting it online. It makes it to prevent, you can put it, but I can come and copy it. What if now you realize somebody else is taking advantage of your content which is online? So you need to work closely with Kenya Copyright Board and ensure that that creation of yours, which is a creation of your mind, and you've put it online, is protected. Yeah.
All right.
So once it's protected, then how we'll come in is now to protect it from hackers. So my role, I'll be critical in your area in terms of securing that content in your blog.
So? All right, thanks. Michael, jump in with a question.
I just want, as we're passing the mic to the next audience member, Robin, I just wanted to ask you specifically about local content. The quota for 2016 was 40%, is that right? And for 2017 is 50, and for 2018 is 60? Okay, so 2 questions. The first one, how did the broadcasters do last year? Are we at 40%? Do we have compliance? And I'm specifically asking about music content. So it's our biggest broadcaster for music content is radio. And there are about 200 broadcasters in Kenya, yeah? So what are we looking at in terms of compliance? And then if they're not compliant, you talked about a complaints procedure. Does it also apply to us as industry? Do we now need to go to the broadcaster and say, hey, you're not at the threshold? Or do we come straight to CAK and say we feel that the threshold is not being met? And when we do, what is your action?
Thank you, man. In terms of compliance, we are doing well. When I was trying to emphasize on what amounts to content, you realize that music itself does not feature as a content itself. It's a program. So the program that is being aired, which features local content, is what we'll consider. We don't consider music per se as content.
Even for radio?
Yes. So if you look, there's a definition for local content. You see, music itself does not feature. So a program, we consider a program first. So the content of this particular program is what we'll now consider as what is being aired.
All right. So if
it's now NTV showing the beat.
Let's please speak about radio. Radio is our biggest earner for royalties. Let's speak about radio. So if we look at a breakfast show, on a radio station, you're saying that even when the presenter is talking, is that local content, or are you looking at are they playing international music or are they playing local music?
We don't. You see, we look at we look at the definition of local content, but we don't consider music as local content. We consider programs.
So how do you measure? That means that radio shows must be 100% compliance because they're all local in that regard.
No, I don't listen to radio much, but from the latest statistics, apparently it's a good question, which maybe I need to take back. The focus is not on radio much. The focus has been on TV. Yeah, which I'm really liking this question, because now I need to go back and look at the issue as to whether compliance is really focused on radio or TV. But the current focus is purely on TV. Right. Yeah, and
so
the concerns that we get mostly are from artists with regard to TV content.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. So, Robin, can we, as an action of this panel, it would be great to hear from CA next week to understand what's the level of compliance in terms of local music content for the music industry. Because at the end of the day, guys, we have known in the past, working with the CMOs, that basically our radio stations have generally played in the past, about 70% international music. So what that means is that your CMOs here are collecting money, yes, and specifically for MCSK, because they have the rights for international, most of that money is leaving Kenya and not coming to you. That's why we invited CA today, because they play such a critical role for the health of our industry. The more local content that's played locally, the more that the CMOs can distribute to you guys. So that's really the point of that. And now moving forward, if they're not compliant, what is the process that we can make? What is the process of getting them compliant with the CA's assistance? Thank you.
All right. Who's the mic? We'll take 2 more questions, and then we'll still come back. Just the guy next to you. Yeah.
Hello.
Try and keep it related to music. So your name, where you're from, and then keep it to music.
Okay. Hello, how are you? My name is Joka Berry. I am a composer, songwriter, and this is someone related to music from the perspective of image. The question is directed to you, sir. Okay. In Europe and in Western world, in Europe and America, they have a policy where a person who is considered of an influential status cannot advertise or cannot push or cannot endorse a product that is considered adult, like alcohol, condoms, and stuff. So they have that policy in their country, but we find they are taking our own artists to endorse such products. Why the double standards? Why are we using our own influential artists to advertise their plus 18 products, while they cannot allow their own to endorse? My other question would be to the CMOs. What would be the benefit of me signing up with a publisher while I'm a local artist, give them 33% of my earning, and while there's MCSK to collect my revenues? And what can we do? Can we have a body that would help regulate the middlemen? Because if we have all these people charging 10%, 15%, 33%, you remain with the pay slip. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for that. On the question of the CMOs, when they make their presentation, they'll answer that question. Roba, on this other one.
Thank you.
Very quickly.
What was your name again? Bishugu. Your concern, if I understood you well, your concern is how come we're having brain drain in terms of advertisements, right? So our artists who are talented in terms of shooting for commercials, they prefer going outside.
What he's saying is that in Europe, a celebrity is not allowed to endorse certain adult products.
Yeah.
They take, if you look at an NGO like kids, they may not allow celebrities to do that, and when they come to Kenya, they'll use celebrities to endorse those. So it's about, it's essentially a case
It's actually it's an advertising issue. I wish we had somebody from Advertising Practitioners Association here on board. But a quick answer which comes to my mind is an issue of income, rather. It's an issue of discretion, personal choice. If we had sat stiff and said that we promote advertisements as local content, then we will really encourage, it will be an incentive to these artists to shoot here locally. We have no, we do not even have an advertising regulatory body. We have an association which promotes the welfare, the interests of advertising. So this is an issue which you can bring it up when on discussions for regulation of advertising, so that we have caps. And now, just to bring you up to speed, we have now to ensure that we are promoting local artists and local advertisements here. We've made a case for advertisements or commercials that are shot in the country by local producers and local artists. We'll consider them. We are trying to create an avenue or an avenue arena where we'll consider them as local content.
All right.
So I think if this comes into play, it takes effect, will really prevent.
Sorry, Robert, you finished?
Did you? I know I've not addressed your answer competently, right?
But it's a good attempt, Robert. And as we said, it relates a lot with the advertisers. So maybe even after this session, we'll just try and even make a few calls for you and get the answer to that. Ama will Google. Yeah. Hold on. We'll do the publishing very quickly.
Just to the previous point, I also think that's under the Kenya Film Classification Board as well. So maybe you could also write to them, because that's also part of their mandate. With regards to publishing, so we do music publishing. Like any role, any healthy music industry, any location in the world has different levels of management. Okay, you have a manager who looks after your career. You may have a publicist that looks after your promotion, and you may have a publisher that looks after your rights. And we also go wider than copyright as well. So, in theory, these different levels of management add value to your career because it allows you to focus on what you do best, which is basically songwriting and performing. Okay? So if you look at some of the clients that we handle the publishing for, like Sauti Sol, they actually don't have the time to go to the CMOs, do all the administration that we do for them. And then on top of that, there's another service that we offer, which is called synchronization. Synchronization is basically taking your music and pushing it for advertising, film, and television, okay? Which is, if you look at a cake, okay? A cake, what the cake is made of, that's basically your royalties from your CMOs, okay? I call synchronization as the cream on the cake, okay? That's where you can now make extra money and good money in terms of synchronizing your music in advertising, radio, and TV. If you want any more information, please come to our stand, PHAT Intellectual Property, stand number 57. Talk to Angie and Georgina. They can give you some more information on that. Thank you.
Angie, you want to add something, Angie?
Yeah. Mine was a question to Robin about compliance and music. You find that when it comes to collecting societies, you find that the two societies, for example, CAMP and PRISC that represents musicians, is finding it very difficult to collect royalties from the broadcasting stations. They're actually, I think the compliance is almost at 3%. And that is really low. We've even taken some of them to court. So I'm wondering what would be the role of the Communications Authority of Kenya in terms of being able to not give them a license if they don't comply to particular payments they're supposed to make, because this is musicians' works, and they're using this to make their business, I don't think any of us would listen to a 24/7 radio station talk show. Is there anyone who's interested in a talk show for 24/7? I think you'd like some music, isn't it? And they need to understand that it's not just the musicians who want their works to be played at the broadcasting stations, but it's a symbiotic relationship, and they need to pay for that particular use of the music.
Thank you, Angie. I hear you. I really hear you, but since it's not directly connected to a mandate, I feel like our hands are tied, but that is not to say that we are unable to do it. Beyond our own mandate, we have jurisdiction, authority to enter into strategic partnerships with sister bodies. Like we have a partnership with KFCB. We are trying to work into a partnership with. We have a partnership with KFC. We are trying to enter into a collaboration with Kenya Film Classification Board. We have a partnership with Copyright Board. I don't see us entering into a partnership. Then once we settle into that partnership, those nitty-gritties, we can work on them. Because it will be hard for us to directly enter, to require directors. It will be hard for us to require broadcasters to do this because that's a bit contractual. But in our collaboration, we can couch something in this MOU which will facilitate that.
All right. Thanks for that. Okay. There's someone just before you. Sorry, I'll come back to you. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, name, where you're from, and keep it music, eh?
Yeah, sure.
All right, thanks.
Kenneth Kihoro, I'm an artist. So to the CMOs, to the collection organizations. So what systems do you have in place for artists to basically track their royalties and all that? Because the artist is your client, yeah? That's your number one client. And I believe the artist has to pay some money to join the system, yeah? So what is the level of accountability? Because you go to MCSK, you pay your membership, and then you go back home. There are no systems, there's no feedback, there's no follow-back. And no business runs like that. I mean, if you go to a shopkeeper and give them money for milk, you expect service back. So even as you're working on your systems, what is the level of accountability for the artist really? Because if you're not doing your job, then what is the repercussions? I mean, there has to be some legal or some kind of consequence for that. Or are the artists just going to sit and wait for the day that things get better?
All right. Good question. All right. We are Mr. Simio from MCSK will answer that.
Thank you for that question. Being a member is as a musician is your right, but there are different scenarios in terms of the quality of music for each and every artist. You'll find that if you're not getting airplay, don't expect to earn royalties, right? Because there's an essence of issues of value addition to the users. The users, the business people, are they getting value from your music? You bring a piece of work in terms of music and you're not getting airplay or your music is not trending, it doesn't mean that now you as a member, you're entitled to get royalties. There's some other benefits that as a member you can be able to be entitled to, but when it comes to now issues of royalties, there's no way you can be able to say the South Soul, and then there are some other musicians down there who are not getting that kind of airplay to receive that. There are other benefits in terms of welfare, they are there, where we have benevolent, we have medical, and then we also have other assistance in terms of production. The other level that I also want to explain is issues of accountability in terms of finances. As a member, the Constitution is very clear. The memo and article gives a member the duty to come to the office and require and seek for that information in writing, and you will be able to be given the financials. The second thing is that our financials are there very clearly in our website. You just need to click www.mcsk.or.ke and you'll be able to access information about our financials. And you have an issue, you can be able to raise an issue on issues of accountability. In terms of systems registration, when you come in to register as a member, there's some other information which we do communicate mostly through SMSs. For example, in terms of interaction, when there are issues of AGMs, we'll be able to send an SMS. So that is the forum where if you have an issue, you can be able to raise issues that deal with the governance of the society in terms of accountability and issues that you require to know as a member. But again, as Mike said, when you look at this country, 70% of the music being played through most of our mainstream stations is foreign. And that means that whatever is being collected in terms of even broadcasting, MCSK, we are doing much better than our sisters and brothers come at Prisk. However, we are doing just small in terms of broadcasting. I think the market, we are only doing maybe something like 20%. When you look at even the royalties that we are getting, the tariffs, what is being paid is just too low. And I'm surprised that CAK, I say they don't have a role. You have a role. You need to just go back and check on that so that you help the CMOs to be able to collect. For a fact, when you look at most of the developed CMOs in South Africa, the main areas where they collect money is broadcasting and sale of music online. That is a digital platform. In Kenya, it's vice versa. We are getting money through some other means, which is the public performances where we do go out, collect royalties, but it's the most expensive way of collecting money. Compliance in terms of users is really a nightmare. The government also is not coming in handy to assist in terms of assisting the CMOs to be able to comply. Because if you don't get support from the government in terms of compliance to make sure that people pay, and that is through the CAK and also through various departments that we do work with in relation to collection of royalties. So it's an industry that has potential, but we also face a lot of challenges. However, in terms of getting information, as I said, the structures are there. You just need to come to the office, seek for our accounts, and you will be given. You have an issue, you can raise an issue. Thank you.
Okay, excuse me. Excuse me.
What will do is this, eh?
No, just a minute. Kindly. He did not answer my question. I just want to finish, and then he can maybe answer the question well, yeah?
okay, fine. Just.
Okay, so what you're saying is that artists, not every artist is not trending, and not every artist is basically on top, yeah? My question is, as a member, as a recording artist, if my song gets played even twice, yeah, even let's say twice, what do you have in place for me to know, that okay, my song got played twice, and therefore MCSK owes me 2 shillings. I don't have to be trending to get my money, because as long as my music is playing, you guys owe me some money, yeah. Okay, if at all there are rates, yeah, let's say you can only get money after 100 plays, that information, I've not seen it on your website, unless maybe I haven't checked it well. Okay. That's number one. And my point on that is that, what you're saying is that we come to your office and check the records. So you're basically talking about trust. So I should trust you, come to your office, yeah, and look at your files and say, okay, this is what I'm owed. Don't you think in this time and age where technology is everything, you should have thorough systems, yeah? Because that's your mandate, really, yeah? So kindly answer that.
I think you are taking me behind. I said you can access our information on our website. Answered. I don't have to repeat that for getting information. The second issue is about getting to know if you get airplay twice, what it is. It's from one radio station to another radio station. It's sort of a long scientific way of calculation. But one of the things I want to also just tell you how it's done, let me pick up NTV. NTV, they pay us, if you're getting airplay in NTV, they pay us X amount. Let me say 100,000 per month in terms of both radio and TV. Now, if you take the top, maybe people who got airplay in NTV within that month, there are 100 musicians. The top has 1,000 airplay in different songs that are being played within maybe the same different stations. Then you look at how many artists have managed to get airplay within the same station, allocate, and then they list maybe one airplay. So the 100,000 is now shared among the people who received airplay in that station based on the airplay. For now, I can give like one airplay can be something like, the highest I think is NTV, which is around 100 shillings per one airplay, which is divided amongst what we get. So that's why you find that when you see an artist earning X amount, it's a combination of royalties earned from NTV, and based on the number of artists that have received the airplay in that station, and the count of that airplay vis-a-vis to other stations. When you go to other stations that pay less, like the community radio stations, that is just regional stations, the rate also goes down. Even goes to most of these gospel radio stations like Injili FM, that their rates in terms of broadcast tariff is lower. So it depends from one station to another station. And that kind of a system is in place. And that's what we use in terms of payment. So I'm just saying, this is the information that you can be able to come and be given individual. Because this is confidential. It's not something that we'll put to the public to see Nameless got this, South Soul get this, so and so on got this, so that issues of the members getting information. Because this is your check. This is your account. So for you to check your account, you need to access. And we have offices all over where you can be able to get information. The other issue is the issue of, we have a system called BMAT, Vericast, that is monitoring most of the information, because the broadcasters are not so much willing and cooperative in terms of giving us logs. Because anytime we give us a check, it has to be supported by the logs. And these are the logs that assist most of the CMOs to be able to distribute. Currently, MCSK, we've managed to subcontract this kind of a service because we have a challenge from broadcasters giving us this information. And there we are. That's why we are saying CAK needs to come in and assist for us broadcasters as you paycheck. Give us with the logs so that even a member or an artist can be able to say, okay, this is what was given from the broadcaster, and this is what are the CMO, and this is what I'm getting. If it's an issue, it can be sorted out from that point. Currently, we're expending a lot of money doing the same. We have a system called Vericast, which you can be able to access and see airplay from one station to another station to another station. Thank you.
Thanks. So, guys, what we'll do is this. That was an important question on transparency and accountability, especially on the CMOs. And part of what the panelists are supposed to talk to you about are the regulations, which will seek to have a more transparent and accountable system. So we'll jump for now and come back to you. We'll jump for now to the Kenya Corporate Board, who are the ones who regulate and hold the CMOs accountable, so they can tell us what they're doing and what they want to propose on the new regulations, the new amendment to the Corporate Act. And then he'll give the CMOs a few minutes just to touch on anything that is left out. And that way we'll be able to keep time and even take all the questions now generally. So the regulator will speak and more on what you've just asked. I've just forgotten your name. So, right.
Thank you. So I'll just start by, of course, I hope you can remember my name, Kaindo. I won't repeat the same. Now, one of the mandates of the Kenya Copyright Board is to license and supervise the activities of the CMOs. CMOs are the collective management organizations. So it is Kenya Copyright Board that licenses them and supervises their activities. Now, when supervising or when licensing, these CMOs, there are some requirements which they are supposed to meet. Now, these requirements are laid down in the regulations, which currently are being amended. So what we require from them is accountability and transparency. Now, one of the things that must be there is that they must submit the books of accounts with the Kenya Copyright Board, and these books of accounts are actually open to the public to inspect. So if they don't give you the books of account, you can come to Kenya Copyright Board. Then, because it is a government entity, we can actually maybe explain some of these issues out. Now, the regulations are being amended, and we have been taking views from the public. And Angela has actually been one of the key people who have been negotiating. So she's actually going to explain more on the same, if I have left anything immediately. Now, I would also want to jump on the amendments on the Act, the Kenya Copyright Act. The Kenya Copyright Act is the law that gives the Kenya Copyright Board its mandate. And its mandate includes to protect and to promote the copyright works. So if you create a copyright work, we have the duty to promote and to protect the same. However, you are going to realize, since the Kenya Copyright Act was passed, we were used to sale of works through music, through CDs and the like. but now we are seeing exploitation of these works through the internet. Now, the Kenya Copyright Act had not actually covered copyright work in the digital environment. So what we have proposed the proposed bill is already in the Attorney General's office, is to enable us to protect and to promote and also to enforce your copyright under the digital environment. So we are still seeking views on the same, and we are hoping to get through to be able to protect that. These days you are selling music through, like you have mentioned, YouTube, other digital environment. It is very hard under the current laws to enforce those rights under the current Kenya Copyright Act. So these are amendments that are actually going on. Now, another very important function of the board, which I need to mention, is we do enforce your rights by actually monitoring, not exactly monitoring, but the Kenya Copyright Board has inspectors who go out and look for works which are maybe pirated works, and then we prosecute. We prosecute people who are actually pirating copyright work. But now, this is where you come in as musicians or artists. What is your duty in the enforcement? Now, when you create a work, it is important for you to register your work. It is not mandatory, first of all. Once you create a work, like has been said, that work is protected automatically. You don't need to protect it, to register it. But we do encourage artists to register that work for the simple reason that it becomes easy to enforce your rights. When our guys are going out to the streets, there is no way we can tell which is a genuine copyright work and one that is not a genuine copyright work. However, the Copyright Act provides for a device which we call an anti-piracy device, which you as the artist, the owner of the work, you buy and affix on your original works. So when we get out there, we find that we have works which don't have these devices. Then we assume that work is pirated. It just costs just 4 shillings to get work. So you have a duty to enforce that. But remember, we are moving away from now the CDs, and now we are trying to, artists are now exploiting the work in the digital environment. So we are now looking at protection of your copyright work in the digital environment. So you have a duty to enforce, to do that. Registration, I repeat, is not mandatory. But, copyright, like was said, is an intellectual property. It is property. Just like you have your own plot. You have bought a plot somewhere. You can just decide to buy, not even to fence it and leave it. But most people, for you to be able to protect that piece of land, you decide to demarcate it. So the same way with your copyright. You have produced an album. It is important for you to put boundaries. For you to register that work, you are given a certificate. It just costs 1,000 to register the same, and you are given a certificate that acts as a title deed. The purpose is for evidential. It is for evidential purpose. It is not a must to register, such that if there is a dispute, it will be very easy for us, for you to be able to prove that work is yours once you have the certificate. Now, on the issue of tariffs, I'll just mention tariffs, then throw it back to them. The tariffs are being gazetted. I was involved in I think there were some amendments that are supposed to be done. There is supposed to be joint collection of tariffs to make it easy for the users to collect. For the CMOs to collect. Currently, we are actually trying to, I think the CMOs are actually now forwarding their books of accounts for them to be licensed. Their license only lasts for 1 year. We are still collecting views on that. So CMOs will now be able to collect jointly as opposed to one. That was just an overview. There were some questions, but I'll throw back to the moderator.
So Adipo for a minute, Angela for a minute, then we take questions to close the session. So 1 minute here and 1 minute here.
Okay. I think first we need to understand the different roles that CMOs play from what Kenya Copyright Board does, because there has been a lot of discussions regarding why MCSK or CAMP or PRISC do not deal with the issue of piracy, for instance. Piracy is a function that is, or rather anti-piracy is a function that is handled by Kenya Copyright Board because it's a crime. Those who engage in piracy, which affects you as musicians, are not supposed to be given a license. Actually, when they get them, I think you give them handcuffs, because that is actually what's supposed to be happening. They're supposed to be arrested and arraigned in court. Now, for CMOs, we basically engage in collective management of rights. And that is because not every single artist will walk into every single shop to license a user, and not every single user, like a bar, restaurant, etc., will start looking for every single artist. So we act as a bridge to connect the two parties. And that is why we are registered as companies that are limited by guarantee with no shareholders. In regard to the role of the role of CAMP and PRISC in this industry, PRISC basically handles rights of performers. Performers could be musicians, that is both singers and instrumentalists, and on the other side, audiovisual artists like actors and actresses. While CAMP handles the rights of producers of sound recordings or executive producers, the person who pays for the production of the song. MCSK handles the rights of songwriters, that is publishers, arrangers, authors, and composers. So it is important to understand the difference between the three societies. There's a gentleman who raised an issue regarding why we think he should trust us with his works and his money. There are different sectors from which we collect. And there are those sectors from which we can actually do there are those sectors from which we can actually do monitoring of how your works are used. For instance, in the digital sector, what we call new media, where works are actually exploited, we have, for instance, Skiza, Safaricom. We usually have a DRM, a digital rights management, or you can call it CMS, content management system, that basically does real-time monitoring of works. We are getting to a point where artists will be able to have access to the CMS or to the DRM so that they can actually do real-time monitoring of their works. That will deal with issues of trust. That will create a greater room for transparency, and you'll be able, actually, to know how much you are owed by the time we make that phone call that you should come for your check. Now, in the broadcasting industry, we are not doing very well because broadcasters are not paying. They're not compliant. And that's why I also hold the same opinion as my colleague Simiyu, that CAK has a greater role in ensuring that the programming code is adhered to the end. Because if you create a code that requires a broadcaster to do at least 40% of whatever it does is local, then you should ensure that it is done. And when it is done, there should be consequences. Consequences being that when you use 40% of your time to play local content, the creators of local content should be able to benefit from such works. We currently do monitoring. He talked about Vericast. We have the distro system that does monitoring and distribution, and we have from the broadcasting stations that we license, the few that we license. And our distribution is purely scientific because we cannot just come up with formulas that cannot be backed scientifically. But then there is a huge sector from which we license, but we are not able to carry out monitoring, and that is what we call CTP, communication to the public. We license bars, hotels, restaurants, events. We are in an electioneering period. We will be going after those politicians who will be playing your music. We will not be able to monitor what is happening in Loyangalani, in Samburu, or in Mombasa. But once we collect this money, there are at least certain general rules that we have to adhere to ensure that every artist gets a bit of what we collect. Yeah.
Okay. Now to add on to, because Adipo is both CAMP and PRISC. So I think your question is answered on in terms of monitoring, isn't it? At least for Camp and Prisk, we do have a system. You can tell how many times your songs have played. But at this time, just for a few seconds, I just want to recognize the camp chairman. He's here, Mr. Ngemu. Thank you, and the director Mukaisi from MCSK. So welcome to the session. And for me, just to touch on the regulations, we've talked a lot about transparency, accountability, and good governance for the CMOs. I know that's a very big challenge right now for the artists. So Kekobo have come up with the new regulations, which are very comprehensive in terms of how they're going to regulate and ensure that CMOs are transparent, accountable, and run by good governance principles. And I want to invite all of you on Tuesday at Louis Leakey on Museum Hill. There's going to be a stakeholder forum where you can come and air your views and say what you want the CMOs to do for you as an artist, for you as a musician, and how transparent or accountable, what measures you want the Kekobo to put in those regulations to ensure that the CMOs are transparent and accountable. For now, you can go to www.cmoregulations.or.ke. You will find the regulations there. Just read them, go through them, and see what is remaining. If you want to say you want to be seeing the CMOs monitoring or the CMOs showing the musicians how their works, the same issues that you've brought up. Those are the things you bring to the forum on Tuesday. Karibuni, make sure you come, because this is your chance to put in everything. If you come, and we'll be able to raise all those concerns then.
All right, thanks a lot. What we'll do, Bona Chairman, we'll have the two chairmen closing the session. All right, that will be okay. So that now we can just finish the questions there. Is that okay? All right, it's okay with that. Yeah, you'll close.
My name's Geoffrey Ogola, aka Ordinary Tringenyi. I'm an artist. I'm here representing my company. Okay, first, I have a question for you, sir. Mr. Robin, Busolo. What's your mandate? You say that you guys CA, the CA, you
regulate.
Yeah, you
regulate various industries, telecommunications, broadcasting.
You talked about you help artists. How do you guys, like the 40%, the quota that the radio station are giving out, if they kama azifiki kama hawatoi ile pesa ya wasanii ile royalties, ndio? How do you help artists? How do artists, because I understand that we're only 15,000 artists, You only, out of 44 million people who are in Kenya listening to music, you guys should like have the mandate to educate the other artists. That's just a question. And then the second question I have for the CEO of MCSK. Sir, I'm an artist. I've been I've registered on your organization for like 10 years or so. There's some hit song that I've, like Jam Na Kam. Niko kwa Jam Na Kam, Baby Usijali, Niko kwa Jam Na Kam. I'm one of the artists in that song. You see, when the artist who, I was featured on that song, with Rabbit. So he registered it. And then I think a year after that, I came and registered the song too. But I haven't been updated. My money hasn't been updated since like 2007 or something. Well, you guys were still a small office over there. Now I understand you've got like big offices everywhere. So what's happening? What's up with that?
The second one?
Thank you for that question. I think the best thing you can do, I can be able to handle your issue now here. The only thing you can do is you come over to the office on Monday so that I can be able to know exactly, because it's a case-to-case issue. If you have a complaint, I might not be able to know, so that I can be able to know if why from this period to this period there's no level of compensation and you'll be getting airplay. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Gadhani, and my question is, what has been accomplished since the last ONGEA when we had the same panel here? And sir, you mentioned about associations for advertisement, about a question that was asked about advertisement and publishments. So what are these associations doing to expose themselves to the artists? Why are we looking for them? And for Sir here, Mr. Kaindo, you mentioned about selling music on YouTube. As an artist, I know that YouTube is good for exposure but bad for commercial use. Because my music will spread, but until I get a number of viewers, I will not be getting money, especially in Kenya. So in that way, artists feel the pressure to be ahead, and I feel like the associations put in place for music are behind the artists. The artists are feeling like they are way ahead of this, and this pulls us behind, and that's why we're having so many questions. So what are you doing to be in current? Because I feel like even in last year in the same ONGEA, we still had the same issues, and we were still talking about, these issues will be sorted or what. So why are we still talking about the same things? We do, as artists, it's frustrating to be ahead alone instead of having these bodies in front of us and exposing us, not us exposing them. So those are my two questions.
Thank you, Gathoni, for coming to ONGEA for 2 years. Thank you very much. Give a round of applause to Gathoni, please. Thank you. And it's good to have all of you guys who are here year after year and have the same passion. To answer your question, what has happened? Quite a bit has happened, okay? But I also representing private industry and also representing a body of artists, both local and international. I agree with you that it's not happening fast enough, okay? I agree with you that the quota system for CA is not happening fast enough. I agree with you that the joint tariffs with Kokobo and the CMO and the joint collection is not happening fast enough. One of the outcomes of ONGEA is that, fortunately, from the panel last year, we, as representatives of a large body of work, PHAT IP, were invited to the consultations, and we appreciate Kokobo and the CMOs for that. So we sat in the sessions that guided the new tariffs that are to be gazetted, okay? And we did that by helping them benchmark from our international experience. They had already begun the benchmarking process, so we sat in and gave our opinion, which is fantastic. However, gazettement was meant to happen by the end of last year. Joint collection was meant to happen last month, okay? As we sit here today, I'm not even sure of what the new tariffs are that are going to be gazetted, and it would be reassuring that this would also be shared with the industry, because as already shared by Samir, Kenya's industry is one of the few in the world that is upside down, okay? The biggest users of music in the world are broadcasters. In Kenya, they pay the least amount. If we benchmark our tariffs on international standards, and this is something for you, Busolo, in terms of, I like talking numbers, okay? The proposed tariff, and I'm not sure, Kayendo can confirm, the proposed tariff that we had come up with the CMOs is 10% of advertising revenue. Advertisers spend 85 billion shillings every year on broadcasters, at least. This is just radio and TV. 10% of that is what? 8.5 billion. At the moment, the 3 CMOs collect 400 million? Yes? 300? No, okay, yeah, sorry. In total. For broadcast, you collect about 60, 70, or 40 million? Yes, 60 for all. Okay? So, yeah, sorry, I was talking about total collections. So, let me take it again. MCSK will collect roughly about 360 million. 60 million of that is broadcast. Okay? It's tiny. And we're talking about another 8 billion. Yeah? So we're talking 1%. All right? It's not equitable. And that's why we're asking CA, broadcasters make money from your content. If there was no music on radio, there would be no advertising. Yes? Okay? So right now, there's no equity in our industry. And it's not a big deal. They'll add 10% to the advertising rate card. They'll go and give it to Safaricom. They'll go and give it to Coke. Okay? Safaricom and Coke may pass it on to the consumer. It's not going to increase the price of airtime. It's not going to increase the price of a soda. Okay? But 8 billion shillings into our industry, what will it do? How many jobs will it create? Okay, then no one will be concerned about sharing their revenue with a publisher to actually do their work, right? Yeah? Guys, we're in an election year, okay? So please use this information, work with your CMOs, work with the regulators for us to get some justice in our industry. Because at the moment, our industry is very unjust. Okay, thank you.
So, I will respond to your question and then comment on what you have said. Now, yes, I agree with you. YouTube is good for exposure, and maybe not good for maybe selling your music there. But you'll agree with me that a lot of piracy and misappropriation of your work actually also happens in the internet area environment. Now, what has Kenya Copyright Board done since the last time we had this kind of forum? Now, what we did, we have collected views across the country, not only Nairobi, but across the country, for the purpose of amending the law to allow us now cover that area. The amendments are already on the bill. They're still being discussed, but there is, I think they should actually be at the AG's office. They're at the AG's office. That issue of piracy in the digital environment is covered. People are actually moving to the digital environment to exploit their work. My colleague had said he'll add that, then he'll answer that. Now, on the tariffs, I think the 10%, I think remained the same, is what that the parties agreed. But the challenge why the tariffs are taking some time, initially, the tariffs that were at the AG were the tariffs, joint tariffs for priest and camp. We didn't have the tariffs for MCSK appeared to be coming separately. So what we are trying to do is to have them being gazetted as one. So that is what has taken some time, but very soon they will actually be gazetted. So you have nothing to worry about. We also, since Kekobo, they have an MOU. They had an MOU with CA. And I think what needs to be done is to renew that MOU, if it has not been renewed, so to be able to work together with Kenya Copyright Board, particularly in issues of compliance by broadcasters. The best way is to work together with CA to ensure that if they have not complied, they have not paid the artist, then their licenses should not be renewed. So my colleague will add something on the YouTube, then we'll answer you.
Okay, before that, I think, Mike, you are making reference to the joint tariffs, the process that took a great part of 2016. And I believe that we've made a lot of progress insofar as the joint tariffs are concerned. And most of the proposed tariffs actually remain the same. Perhaps only issues to do with how to implement it. So let's hope that it will be sorted out as soon as it's possible. Then the issue of YouTube, I think one of the issues that we have with YouTube, away from piracy that Kekobo handles, is that most artists would sign exclusive agreements directly. You see, the moment you sign an exclusive agreement with another party, then you actually impair our ability to negotiate on your behalf, because as we do collective management of rights. But currently we are trying to engage Google to see a way in which you can your monetized music can actually make commercial sense to you as an artist.
All right, thanks. Max from the chairman, MCSK camp, and then we can close.
Okay, my name is Bernard Mukaisi. I sit in the board of MCSK, but here I am here as the chairman, national chairman of MAC, the alliance. I have some 2-3 questions. One is to our government. That is in relation to our rights as artists, because I can see Kekobo is here representing the government, and CAK is here representing the government. This is a good thing. What I want to ask is this. The artists, the works of the artists, that is their copyright, it is like your title deed, a title deed or the land. Yeah? And the rights of, the copyrights of the artists are enshrined in our constitution. I believe it is the work of the government to secure and protect the rights of its artists included. It surprises me when it comes to the rights of the artists, there is a push back and forth game, while the other rights of others are taken seriously. Why am I saying this? If you listen to what is going on, what has been going on since independence in this country, artists have been taken as second-class citizens of this country because their works are not protected. They are left there to organize themselves and see how they can liberate themselves, and we have a government in power. My question is, if artists have formed their CMOs for collection of their royalties, how is it that the government is allowing the same CMOs to develop monitoring system to monitor themselves? How can justice be done? Because I believe this is a duty of the government to develop an independent monitoring system accessible by all artists, so that when I go to CMO to get my pay, I can compare with the statement that I've got. But now when you tell me the CMOs should develop monitoring system, what are we talking about? What is the government doing in that aspect? It is very important because artists have been robbed. If we have an independent monitoring system funded by the government, because that is our right, it is our government, then the broadcasters will be compelled to adhere and pay without much hassles. The other thing is this. We have heard of regulations that we are supposed to go and contribute towards, those kind of things. That's a good thing. I have read it. It's a good proposal, it's a good thing, though we need to put some input. But the question is, do we start from the head, or where are we supposed to start the process? We need to do things right. Now you are saying you are collecting views, and yet already there is a draft. What are you telling us? Are you telling us to come out and rubber stamp? We need to be taken the way other citizens are taken, so that if there is a program affecting us, we must be involved from the beginning. We start by collecting views. Then a draft is made, is brought back to us, we interrogate it, and then we move forward. Yeah? I'm not challenging that, but I'm saying the process is wrong. You need to do something. We don't want to appear as if we are just there to come and rubber stamp something that was discussed in a hotel somewhere by 3 people. All these artists you are seeing here, they have good brains. Here. We can't wish them away. The other thing is that CAK, I'm happy you are here, an employee of CAK. And as an artist who is a taxpayer, I know I pay you salary. What are you doing to make sure that our works are monitored? Because you are the person who gives licenses to those broadcasters. And the revenue that broadcasters get, the higher percentage comes from our content as artists. We need you to come up with measures that will protect us and make sure that our artists in this country are economically empowered. That one, you will justify your salary from our tax, from the artist point of view. Thank you.
Chairman Gemu, you can just make some remarks. So now, as we close, we'll answer the questions from the directors.
Okay. Good afternoon. My remarks first is to appreciate, to thank God to have opportunity to be here. Also appreciate, as I thank Mike Strano for initiating this initiative. It's a plus for the music industry, at least creating opportunity for the artists sit together and seek to understand more about their lives. I'm also excited to be here, being an artist. My name is Justus Ngemu, a producer of sound recording, an artist, a patriotic musician, and such. I sang and produced music when it has no value, and I sang and produced music when sometimes in the middle of 90s when it had values. And now it's unfortunately that music is losing value when we have government in place, we have systems and IT technology coming to us, we have people who are learned, and unfortunately it's the time when music is losing value. I'm disappointed. I must stamp that. Being chairman in CAMP, Kenya Association of Music Producers, I'm disturbed and disappointed to see that we always struggle to get money, to correct money, where we are mandated and licensed to correct on behalf of these artists. And at the same time, we struggle a lot. Actually, we hustle to get it done. We have government in the system. I don't want to repeat what my colleagues said, but we are wondering, our poor artists are rendered to become slaves in their own country. They work, they produce, and they don't benefit out of their works. And whatever they benefit is very little. So we are saying, and we appeal in good faith, that government must wake up to see that, one, we have said time and again about 64th content play. Our local content has become a song of the year. Every other time we are saying the same thing and it's not happening. It's like now we are reduced to beggars. We are begging the service that we are supposed to be given without begging. I think as CAK needs to wake up, and otherwise if you don't do according to our expectation, then we will blame you. And we will call these artists to demonstrate against you, because we are talking all the time and there is very little done. I'm saying this because I'm an artist and I know the pain and the process these artists go through to have work done. And when this work is done, when it is in the market, you find other people are benefiting out of it. You can imagine Skiza Tune. We have suffered a lot to have Skiza Tune in our accounts. And now we are in the court battles. Battling with the people we don't know what their interest is, but they want to take advantage of their works. You see, why should we suffer that way? We are acting, and in good faith, we want to give you room, we want to give you time, but just understand, we are saying this because we are in the process and in the ground, and we cannot pretend that all is well when we are suffering. Thank you very much, and I appreciate this gathering is good. Guys, you can imagine much of the time in the past, we used to call artists, they were not coming. Today they are coming. Please take advantage of this, nurture them, bring them what they need. Thank you very much, and God bless.
So, 1 minute closing remarks as we close the session. And as you respond to the questions from the chairman. Just a minute. Each.
Thank you, artists. I've I've heard you. It's a pleasure and indeed great privilege for me to be here. I'm a messenger who was sent here, and I'll undertake that I'll carry the message home. So hopefully from what we've discussed and what we've settled here, the partnerships that we intend to enter in and the engagements, we'll be able to communicate to you very well. I've heard the directors very well. I hear you. I'll carry the message home to my people. Yeah.
Okay, I'd also like to thank ONGEA for this forum. I've also learned a lot. At least I know I can go to CA and get some feedback and partnership for them to be able to pay royalties on behalf of performers and producers. And most importantly for Mr. Mukaisi, I want to just say that, yes, we appreciate that there are many processes of how to go through policy and regulations, creations of regulations. And one of them is what you have alluded to. And also you have to also appreciate that there are many ways to skin a cat. This is not a final draft. It is not for rubber stamping. Let me make it clear. It is a working document that Kekobo have created to make you first read instead of coming. Because everybody understands the issues that the CMOs and the artists are going through. It's transparency, accountability, and good governance. So they've put the basics together, and they're saying if there are any issues that have been left out, say them so they can be put in. So it is not a final draft. It is a working document. And this is actually the first time, the opportunity to put in your views so that we don't have to come back for the draft and come back for validation. There will still be a validation process after that. Lastly, how many are members of PRISC here, Performers' Rights Society of Kenya? Oh, wow. Thank you first for coming and becoming members. I'd like to encourage all of you, any person who sings, any person who plays any instrument, kindly come to Jumuiya Place. We're on 2nd floor, Ledana Road in Kilimani. It is very important to register yourself with the Performers' Rights Society of Kenya. We actually have a stand here, and there are people actually registering for membership. So you can be able to join and benefit from the use of your works because we pay royalties. We also have a medical cover. There are many benefits that you can gain from being a member. So karibuni.
Okay, thanks, Angela. Go and register now, guys. Don't procrastinate, okay? So MCSK is here, PRISC and CAMP are here. Go register as members because only as members can you exercise your rights, okay? Also go and see what Kekobo are doing as well, and I'm hoping next year CAK will also join us to come and build awareness. I would just like to thank our panel. It is Saturday. They've all given up their spare time to come here and be with us, okay, and to answer your questions. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you. And I would like to specifically thank CAK. This is their first ONGEA forum and maybe an early forum to also address the music industry. Every day is a learning process, okay? So we all learn every day from each other. What I'd also like us to do at ONGEA is not just about, even though it's about talking, it's not just about talking, okay? We walk the talk. So I would like to propose immediately, as early as this week, I would like to invite this panel that we go and have a meeting with CA, the relevant people at CA, and to see how we can harmonize and synchronize our efforts because we all need to work together to get the best results. And I'm happy to initiate that as well. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Very briefly, to Chairman Kaisa, I will simply say, it is like, without repeating what Ajel has said, let us challenge the content of that draft rather than the process at this particular stage. I think that is more the content of those regulations is more important. Now, mine is simply to thank the organizers of this event, my fellow panelists, and the audience. It has been a nice interaction, and I think if we had more time, I could have learned a lot. You notice I'm actually taking notes, and these are notes I'm supposed to take back to the office, and they should be acted upon. So everything that has been said here, you can be guaranteed that the Kenya Copyright Board is going to act on the same. So we have a start. If you have more questions, immediately at the entrance, you'll see Kenya Copyright Board. You can come there today or tomorrow. We can answer all your questions. Our offices are in NHIF building, 5th floor. It is open Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. You are welcome for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ONGEA, for inviting me here, second year running. I'd want to advise all the musicians who are here and producers of music to continue producing music, because music plays a critical role in our society. To the broadcasters and other users, you need to know that music is your secret salesperson. And when you use that music, you must compensate the creator of the work. Finally, there is need for paradigm shift and culture change when it comes to handling issues of intellectual property, so that we see intellectual property just like we see other kinds of property, like a parcel of land, etc. So I wish you all the best, and I appreciate it.
Mine, I just want to appreciate the organizers of this event, Mike, and my boss, Maurice, for being here, Angie, and chairman of the societies, the members. This is also the second year been invited in this forum, but I think it's a good thing because it cuts across the music industry. Mike, thank you very much for that. I know you do it and you don't benefit anything. You're just doing it for the growth of the business. For me, I'll say that music is now a full profession to members, to rights holders. Please take it seriously. What you can be able not to do, let someone be able to do it. There was a question about the issues of publishers, which is one of the rights that we manage. It's a good thing because you can be able now to concentrate and do what you know best, and be able to allow somebody to be able to manage for you in terms of the commercial and the business aspect of your profession. So, and then another thing that I also want to is that inform the right holder is that be careful. At the moment, there's so many what we call middle people coming up with so many contracts when you have a good piece of music, and it's so easy. Take your time to go through that piece of contract. Don't sign it just because someone has come with some small handouts to make you at least sign that. By the end of it, you will not be able to know the value of exactly what you're losing. It's your property. Guard it jealously. Make sure that before you sign any document, you've read it. If there's any issue of legal opinion, there are lawyers here who are experienced, whom you can be able to seek for help. My boss is here, he's a lawyer, he has a firm. You can be able to walk in this office and be able to get that kind of advice that you need before you sign any document that you think might be able to affect you in the near future. Thank you.
Kwa hayo machache tunasema asanteni. Guys, you've been very attentive. We appreciate the questions that you asked, and as I promised, drinks are on me. Just settle the bill. Now, for the panelists, they're still going to be here, so you'll still find them with their stands outside. I'm sure there's still more questions that you'd like to ask. The board members are still here. That's French for thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Yes.